All right, so today we're really going to dig into a case that I think we all remember, the Gabby Petito case.
Yeah.
And, everyone remembers the headlines, but we're going way deeper than that today.
Actually, going beyond the surface.
Yeah, we're trying to understand, what really happened on this road trip and what we can learn from this really, really sad story.
Yeah, it captivated the world for a reason. And I think one of the biggest is how much it revealed about the difference between online personas and real life.
That's so true. Like when you look at their social media, it's all, picture perfect, van life. It seemed like they were living the dream, right?
It's that contrast that makes this case so fascinating. You have this seemingly idyllic van life facade they were presenting to the world. But then you start peeling back the layers.
And it gets darker and darker.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that's relevant to all of us, right?
Right.
Because we're all curating our online images to some extent.
Oh, 100%. And this case really highlights how crucial it is to remember there's often a whole lot more to the story than what you see on Instagram or TikTok.
Right, and that's why we're taking this deep dive, to look beyond those perfectly framed photos and those carefully chosen captions.
And when you start to examine the timeline of this case, that's when things get really unsettling. You have Gabby's last social media post in late August of 2021.
Then silence.
Right, and then you have Brian returning home to Florida alone, driving Gabby's van. It doesn't add up.
And the silence from him and his family, that's a huge red flag right there. If your loved one was missing, wouldn't you be doing everything in your power to find them?
Of course, you'd be shouting from the rooftops.
Exactly. So that lack of cooperation, that wall of silence, it was incredibly suspicious right from the start.
Absolutely. And to imagine what her family was going through during that time, the agony of not knowing, it's heartbreaking.
It really is. And, even before Brian disappeared, there were warning signs, things that in hindsight seem like they should have been red flags.
Oh, like what?
Well, there's the Moab, Utah traffic stop. Weeks before Gabby vanished, police had an encounter with them.
Oh yeah, the body cam footage. That was tough to watch.
It was. You see, Gabby clearly distressed, crying, and Brian's demeanor is just off.
Yeah, he's weirdly calm, chilling even.
Right. And what's so haunting is that the police, they separated them for the night, but ultimately let them go, made it a domestic dispute.
And it makes you wonder, could something have been done then? Could things have gone differently?
It's a question that will always linger in this case.
It makes you think, what if they had just listened to Gabby a little more closely?
It's impossible to know for sure.
Right, but it's a haunting thought.
It really is. And this case really brought the whole idea of online sleuths to the forefront. I mean, everywhere you look, people were dissecting every detail of Gabby and Brian's lives.
Yeah, it was like the whole world turned into detectives overnight. And it wasn't just for show. People were actually finding stuff, like real clues.
Oh, absolutely. The power of that collective online effort, it can't be overstated. That dash cam footage from that YouTuber who just happened to spot their van.
Game changer.
Exactly. That was huge. It led investigators right to Gabby.
Crazy to think about.
It's like something out of a movie.
Yeah.
But we have to talk about the other side of that coin, too.
The dark side.
Yeah. Think about it. With all that information flying around, all those theories, it's easy to get caught up in it.
Oh, for sure. People jump to conclusions. Rumors spread like wildfire.
Exactly. And it can be incredibly damaging,
Yeah.
for the families involved, for the investigation itself.
And it's like people forget there are real people hurting behind these headlines.
100%. It's a delicate balance, isn't it? Between wanting answers, wanting justice, but also wanting to be respectful.
Totally. And I think for a long time, people really believed they would find Brian. It felt like every day there was a new possible sighting.
Right, everyone was looking for him, waiting for that moment when he'd be found.
But as time went on, the hope started to fade,
Yeah, that initial burst of energy, it started to wane. And then, well, the news came.
That they found his remains.
In that nature reserve. A tragic end, but in some ways, not a surprising one.
I mean, after all that, to find out he had taken his own life, it just felt, I don't know, so final.
Yeah, like we'd never get those answers everyone was searching for.
Exactly. And it makes you think about everything we saw on social media, all the speculation, and for what? We'll never really know what happened on that road trip, will we?
It's definitely a reminder that there are some things we may never know, and that's hard. But it also makes the lessons we can learn from all of this even more important.
You're right. If there's any good that can come from this, it's that maybe it can help someone else. prevent another tragedy.
I think that's what so many people are hoping for. And this case really showed us just how powerful social media can be, for better or worse.
Oh, 100%. I mean, look at how much information those online detectives dug up. It was incredible. But then there was all the, I don't know, the craziness too, you know?
Yeah, the rumors, the speculation. It's like everyone had a theory.
And it's hard to know what's real and what's not, especially when you're emotionally invested in a story like this.
It's easy to get caught up in it all. And we have to remember there's a human cost to that.
Absolutely. Gabby's family, for example, I can't even imagine what they were going through, on top of everything else.
It's a good reminder that we need to be careful with the information we share and how we talk about these kinds of events. These are real people's lives, not just some true crime drama.
Well said. And, you know, beyond social media, this case really brought the issue of domestic violence to the forefront. It's terrifying to think how often something like this might be happening behind closed doors.
It's a really important conversation to have. And those warning signs we talked about earlier, they're not always obvious.
Yeah, and it can be hard to know what to do, even if you do suspect something's wrong.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to educate ourselves, to learn about the resources that are available, both for victims and for people who want to help.
And for anyone listening who might be going through something similar, remember, you're not alone.
There are people who want to help, people who care. Don't be afraid to reach out.
This whole case, it's heartbreaking. But if something positive can come out of it, even if it's just one person getting the help they need, then at least there's some meaning in all of this.
I think that's what we all hope for.
Well, thanks for joining me for this deep dive. It's a lot to process, but these are important conversations to have. And remember, there are resources available if you need them.